Disney has made some iconic villain songs throughout the years. Poor Unfortunate Souls, Be Prepared. Within each of these songs, they bring a level of plotting and scheming for their nefarious plans. However, the Hunchback of Notre Dame does something a little differently with the song Hellfire. Let's break it down, shall we? For this 3-ish minute song, there is a lot to unpack. We start the song with the Confiteor chanted by the Archdeacon. Fun fact, his voice actor also voiced the governor in Pocahontas and Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast. That's not really that important to note at this time, but the more you know. Now, the Confiteor translates to I confess and is an admission to one's sins or wrongdoings. At first, it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. We're about to hear the inner monologue of a man who's already done a lot of heinous things before this point, but I assure you it is. When Frollo enters the scene, his head is raised, eyes looking up to the night sky, praying to the Blessed Mary or Maria. Frollo's line of vision is important to note, and it's a detail we'll come back to later. The first verse is about him describing how pompous and prideful he is compared to everyone else, things we already kind of knew from his interaction with others. Unlike those previous scenes, Frollo is now alone with his thoughts. This is the first time he's honest with the audience and himself. A great example to reinforce this is the camera tilt from the cross down to Frollo, who's bathed in flames. When he sings "Tell Me," his arms fan down, thumbs turn out, showing his palms. And if you've ever taken an anatomy class before, you would know that Frollo is demonstrating the standard anatomical position. But his posturing holds a lot more meaning than that. Having your hands down and showing your palms is a sign of openness, at least here in the US. Body language is a little different depending on where you are in the world. However, it also mirrors biblical artwork of Jesus. His arms might be up or down depending on the artist's vision, but what's important is his palms are always open, welcoming others. This could be interpreted as Frollo embracing the flames, but it goes against what Stephen Schwartz's lyrics are saying. As Frollo puts his hands down, he sings the words, "Tell me, Maria." If you look closely, his head tilts up, informing that he's still confiding in the Blessed Mother, still being sincere, still strong in his faith. On top of the honesty from Frollo in the first verse, there are Latin words sprinkled throughout. When he sings, "Of my virtue I am justly proud," the Latin phrase that follows translates to, "and the Father trembles." After the line, "the common, vulgar, weak, licentious crowd," the Latin translation reads, "because I have sinned too much." After he starts describing Esmeralda, the line translates to thought or thinking. Final one in the verse translates to word and work. Why add these Latin words to this song? What value do they provide? The answer to the second question is a lot. In the first verse, these Latin phrases are soft and blend in with Alan Menken's melody. I'll be honest, I didn't really think much of them until today. They're important because this shows the back and forth between Frollo's emotional and logical mind, the fight between conscious thought and more primal desires. Most importantly, it showcases the fear creeping in. Now, we're on the tail end of the first verse, leading to the chorus where he starts talking more in depth about his desires, vividly describing Esmeralda's features and how she makes him feel, which makes me a little uncomfortable, but that's kind of more of a me problem. This is the first time he directly looks into the flame and claims that he can see her. Again, he still isn't consumed by them, at least not yet. At this moment in time, he tries to find the proper words to express his feelings. That's why he's asking so many questions. Why I see her dancing there. Why her smoldering eyes still scorch my soul. All he knows is that these thoughts are eating away at him. The words to sum up his thoughts on Esmeralda are Pay close attention to Frollo's face here. This is a face of a man who's scared out of his wits about what he's just discovered about himself. And in the next camera shot, he slowly backs away from the fireplace. Pair that with Alan Menken's music, which brings tension And this man is in full-on panic mode, which turns into a full-on war within himself when he brings out the scarf that he got from Esmeralda earlier. He starts to cave, giving into his desires, but he catches himself, angry that he could be so weak. As he wraps the scarf around his hands, he collapses to his knees in prayer, still strong in his faith, but it's waning due to other fancies. This next section sends us into the mind of Frollo, who is still terrified over his newfound discovery, crying out the words,
"It's not my fault, I'm not to blame."
These words are in direct contrast to what he said in the opening song, The Bells of Notre Dame. After the Archdeacon catches him in the act of harming a woman and almost doing the same to her baby, Frollo replies,
My conscience is clear.
clearly, it's not. Now, I'm not saying that Frollo is feeling remorse over his previous actions. No, it's the opposite. Him crying, "It's not my fault, I'm not to blame," leads us to what Frollo's greatest character flaw is: denial. Pair that with the hooded figure singing,
I blame.
which means my fault, my greatest fault, and these lyrics show us that the openness we saw in the first verse has departed in favor of placing the blame on others. Now, this also goes back to the conversation that Frollo had with the Archdeacon earlier. The deacon sings, "You can lie to yourself and your minions. You can claim that you haven't a qualm. The key here is you can lie to yourself." Frollo would rather flee than confront his problems head on, making him look more cowardly than we've previously seen him. Now we have my favorite line in this whole song. I really don't know why, but I just really like it.
He made the devil so much stronger than a man.
You add this amazing transition, and it's just truly a work of art. Now, with that, we're back to reality, where we see how defeated Frollo looks. Eyes are still looking up, asking Maria for aid. "Protect me, Maria." Unlike other Disney villain songs like Be Prepared or Poor Unfortunate Souls, where the audience gets to see how capable the antagonist is, never once missing an opportunity to gloat, Hellfire sees Frollo push actions onto someone else, asking Maria to dispose of Esmeralda or let her be his. And with that line, he no longer sees her as a siren. The biggest thing to point out is he's not technically in love with Esmeralda. He's only in love with the idea of her, hence the smoky version of her. And at this point, Frollo is a desperate madman, wanting these thoughts to stop consuming his soul. And in this time of need, the Blessed Mother does come to his aid, sending a soldier bathed in white to inform Frollo that Esmeralda has left the cathedral. Now, instead of taking this as a sign to chill out and let go, Frollo takes it upon himself to find her.
Get out, you idiot. I'll find her.
Even if he has to burn everything to the ground, Frollo's lust has won out, and there is no going back now. Although Maria tried to help him in the way she could, it wasn't exactly what he asked. His exact words were,
Destroy Esmeralda, or else let her be mine and mine alone.
the Blessed Mary isn't going to inflict violence onto another, especially to someone who prayed to her earlier, showing how protective and helpful she is to the poor and downtrodden. In the closing moments of this verse, Frollo casts his faith aside and takes initiative to do it himself, fully lost to his desires, eyes looking deep into the flames, never to look up again. And as the final chorus rings out, Frollo sings a different tune.
Hellfire, dark fire.
A very different admission to what the flames represented earlier. The once open posture from the first verse is no more. In its place is a posturing that almost looks like a warlock chanting a spell through the flames. You know, the thing he feared Esmeralda was doing earlier.
Witchcraft.
Funny how fast things change. For the rest of the song, it seems like Frollo is casting upon dark forces to help him as they rise from the fireplace. Remember this Latin phrase from earlier? It means word and work. Whim versus action. For most of this song, Frollo's actions have not matched his mind, and the Latin phrases are what bring that to light. But for the first time, the words Frollo is speaking and the translated words match up, both singing "Lord have mercy." And with that, Frollo has come to his conclusion. She will be mine, or she will burn. No other option. As he steps away from the fire, he turns his back on what he believed and places his belief in his own righteous ways. Well, that's Hellfire, a song that showcases a man going from openness to fear to denial to desperation and then concluding with malicious intent. I did warn you that this song had a lot going on, and that's why I enjoy it so much. For most of this movie, Frollo is looked upon as a power-hungry, controlling man. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't get me wrong, Frollo is an awful man who I'd never want to hang out with in any regard. But for 3-ish minutes, Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz make this downright despicable character vulnerable. And that's a testament to how amazing these two are at crafting stories through song. But it also is a testament to how gifted these animators were working on this project, taking this dark, psychological song and crafting imagery to work in tandem with the words. Whether you listen to the film version performed by Tony Jay, or the stage version sung by Patrick Page, the original Hades in Hadestown, you see how different their performances are. Tony Jay's version is a little more sinister, where Patrick Page sings the lyrics with a little more sadness and anxiety. It doesn't really matter which version you prefer because it shows how layered this song is. It's the only time in the whole film that Frollo is vulnerable, showing us that he is a shell of a man. Now, for that reason, that's why I think he's the scariest Disney villain. It isn't for his controlling nature. No, not at all. I believe what makes him so scary is how human he is, how fear can cause us to have tunnel vision, and within ourselves, we can let the fear control us or work to be better. Sure, we might still be scared, but if we deny the fear, then we're denying the opportunity to grow. Going back to the song Bells of Notre Dame one last time, Stephen Schwartz writes a lyric that reads, "Who is the monster and who is the man?" On the surface, one would think that Quasimodo is the man, while Frollo is the monster, and that might be true, but I think it goes a little deeper than that. I believe that both parts are inside of us. As horrible as it sounds, we all have a Frollo inside of us, a monster desperately trying to break out. However, it's our job as people to keep that part in check, or it will spiral out of control like, well, fire. And honestly, that's all I gotta say about that. Sorry this video took so long to make. I appreciate you guys. And I know this was a little bit different, but I really did have a fun time going in depth into the storytelling aspects of this song. And if you have any other songs you'd like me to look at, then let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, why don't you tell me who your favorite Disney villain is? And if you're looking for another video that goes into detail about the music of Disney, then why don't you check out this video right over here about The Lion King. I guess I'll see you when I see you next. All right, bye.